Hi guys, so I'm going to talk through how to look at the SPSS output for doing correlation so that you can do the rest of the classwork for correlations as well as the homework assignment. Obviously you don't have SPSS at home, so what I've done for the classwork and the homework assignment on correlations, I've copied and pasted the output into each of those assignments and posted those on Canvas. Look on Canvas for any file that has the _CV indicates that this is the revised file, the CV for coronavirus, that has the SPSS output directly in there. This will also be in your attached to an email I'll send you as well. So what we're looking at first here on the screen is from the end of the Chapter 15 lesson handouts, which, as you know, are also posted on Canvas already. This is showing what we would have been doing today, Friday the 13th, in the lab. So you don't need to worry, obviously, about the instructions, but interpreting the output. So this example is recall for the quality of the parent-child relationship and the quality of the marriage and whether or not there's a correlation between those two. So the output sets it up essentially as a correlation matrix. This is looking at what is the correlation between the parent-child relationship and marriage. So the first thing to look for is your actual R value. This first row is your Pearson product moment correlation, right? So this is the R value, this first row. So your R equals 0.081. Then the second thing to look at is whether or not this is a statistically significant relationship. So now we're looking at the second row, your p-value, or what's labeled sig here, and your p-value is 0.637. If the p-value is less than 0.05, we reject the null and conclude that there is a significant correlation between the two variables. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, we fail to reject or accept the null and say that there is not a statistically significant correlation between the two variables. So this one, this 0.637, the p-value is greater than 0.05, so we conclude that there's not a significant correlation between these two variables. The other important thing to note here is that recall when you report your findings, your final conclusion sentence needs to include the degrees of freedom. For whatever reason, SPSS doesn't give you the degrees of freedom, but it gives you the N. Recall for correlations, the degrees of freedom are found by calculating n minus 2. So you're looking at this third line here, and we see our n is 36, so we know that our degrees of freedom is 34. I've just added what your final conclusion sentence should be at the very bottom here. Because the p-value is greater than 0.05, we would conclude that there is not a statistically significant correlation between the quality of the parent-child relationship and the quality of the marriage. We include at the end that we used the R statistic. In the subscript, we include the degrees of freedom, which is 34. Report the actual R value, and because there's not a statistically significant relationship, our P is greater than 0.05.